I need to start this video with the preface that all of this is in good fun. I don't really want to eat the Guilty Gear cast, but as an inside joke with a friend group per se, I kind of started wondering what they all tasted like, and that's really where this video came from. To give some context, have you ever lost over and over again in Strive for some bullshit character and all your anger transcends yelling or breaking your monitor into the realm of philosophical exploration somewhere along the lines of, I think Ramlethal would taste the best out of the Guilty Gear cast. Not in a sexual way, I'll say. This video is purely culinary science based. This isn't a fetish or anything. This is simply me channeling my inner Captain Louis and exploring the flavor profile of each character. Before we get into it, I'm also going to base this tier list off the most recent appearances of every character, and there may be some that I purposely disclude because I may not be familiar with them. I'm going to try to do every character from Strive and Exarid, but beyond that might be something for a follow-up video. Also, we're not we're not doing Unica and Lucy because, come on. The tier list itself will have 5 tiers. Inedible. Characters I physically cannot eat without some sort of bodily harm coming to me. A.B.A. Pass, for characters that wouldn't be my first, second, or third choice to eat. If presented with the opportunity, for characters I wouldn't seek out, but I'd try them once or twice. Repeat list, for characters that have that certain je ne sais quoi. They can only be prepared in a few ways or so, but I would love to indulge in them more than once. And finally, the ones I would pay top dollar to try. The characters at the top are just delicious through and through and can be prepared in a multitude of ways that just keep you coming back for more and more. As you may have realized, this list is not only based on flavor, but everything surrounding consuming a character as a meal. Texture, cook time, amount of meat available, pairings, preparation, and actual danger to yourself. You can kind of treat this video as a cookbook rather than a tier list if you so prefer. Now, I'm going to stop rambling, and let's just get into the proverbial meat and potatoes of the episode.
Soul Badguy.
Soul is incredibly muscle-bound, and although he does not have the Flame of Corruption anymore as of Strive, I just know his meat will be best charred through and through. You don't want a tough, well-done steak though, and with Soul's muscles, that's what you're going to get if you prepare him that way. To be honest, the only way I can see him being properly prepared is as ground beef in something of a burger, which is rather fitting since he's American. Picture a bison burger from Fuddruckers. That's where Soul fits best. I'm going to go with a Gruyere cheese with him instead of American plastic cheese because with Soul's frankly bold flavor, you need a cheese on his patty that's going to complement it. Throw in some spinach and Thousand Island sauce and you've got a pretty serviceable Soul burger. I will say though, I can picture him being just a little too tough for me even as ground beef, which is usually pure muscle. It's the type of burger that you can really taste the meat with every bite, to the point that it dries out your throat. He's not a bad burger anyway, just not necessarily what I'm looking for in a burger. For that, I'll put him in the middle. A Soul burger is something I would order once and probably never again, just because there's better options out there.
Kiske.
Speaking of better options, Kai is not one of them. Just like his gameplay, design, lore, and fanbase, his meat is incredibly bland. Jarvis, pull up the picture of the bland chicken and rice meat. That's what Kai tastes like. I do picture him tasting like chicken, honestly. He's more lean than Soul, and the electricity I feel would give him that poultry mouth feel. To be honest, I would pass on Kai. I won't beat around the bush on this one. But since I am going to try to make every character work in some way or another, drowning him in 11 herbs and spices isn't a bad option. It's hard to get fried chicken wrong, but even so, I do feel Kai would somehow make that possible. Me personally, I would use a cornflake crust. And let's be honest, is there any real way to cook Kai other than an air fryer? Add some, Parmesan garlic sauce, or really any sauce of your choice, and you've got a technically edible Kai Kiske. Even though he won't taste awful, I'm gonna pass on Kai Kiske as a whole.
May.
I'm gonna say it now, but none of the Guilty Gear cast is truly seafood coated when it comes to consuming them for a meal. Even May, who is, well, ocean themed. By that I mean, none of them would really taste like any fish, and since we are using their meat for our dishes, we have to find something that fits their taste, not their vibe. I would say her meat would be naturally salty due to the ocean. Something akin to a burger I had one time that was grilled on a slab of Himalayan salt. Very salty and very delicious. But I think in her case we need something to balance that out. What I'm thinking is some sort of Japanese-Russian fusion with a Mei borscht. I'm only 3 characters into this video, and I think this is our only soup for the video. And it's fitting with Mei's water theme, although it incorporates 0 seafood. She'd substitute the beef in the dish. Let's use her Japanese heritage to our advantage and mix her with some mushrooms. I don't want to say enoki because I simply don't think it belongs in borscht, but a shiitake would pair nicely. This is unexplored territory even for me, however, but I grew up eating borscht, so I think I know what I'm talking about. Besides that, just add the traditional beets, cabbage, dill, celery. It's all textbook. You'll definitely want smetana to dull that saltiness from Mei. I do wonder, maybe we could experiment with seaweed? It might taste too much like ramen then, which isn't something I see Mei fitting in all too much. I know you'll probably yell at me for not taking the obvious route and making her into ramen in the first place, which is an avenue you can take, I suppose. But I'm not gonna half-ass this. I genuinely think borscht is the best fit for Mei, and for that, she's going on the repeat list.
Axl Low.
Axl just has a breakfasty vibe to him overall. I mean, just look at him.
Abracadabra!
This is a man dying to cook you a full English breakfast. I know I said I wasn't going off vibes, but to be honest, Axl just seems like he would fit in a breakfast dish. You can go a variety of places with him. I'm thinking something along the lines of chicken and waffles. Axl would absolutely taste like pork though. I'm not sure what Time Traveler tastes like, but he's technically a 21st century British bloke, so I really just see him as like a silly sausage. I mean that literally, I would turn him into sausage. Keeping with the breakfast vibe, I'm going to lock in my choice and say he'd be best as some sort of maple sausage. Add some scrambled eggs with cracked pepper, pancakes, and fresh fruit, and you got a pretty banging breakfast. Even though it isn't full English like he may want, I would enjoy an Axl Low breakfast. But to be honest, would you eat maple sausage more than, I don't know, once a month? Don't get me wrong, I enjoy what Axl tastes like, but he's a treat for once in a while. The kind you forget about in your fridge and decide to make on a whim. For that, he'll go in the if presented with the opportunity category, along with Soul.
Chipp Zanuff.
Despite his appearance, I think Chipp would be a similar lean meat to Kai. You kinda have to stretch your imagination for most of the Guilty Gear cast because, just look at them. Nearly everyone is incredibly muscular, which doesn't make for good eating most of the time, so I'm taking some liberties. Aside from that, Chipp looks to be very healthy in spite of his past as a drug addict, so I don't think that would change his flavor at all. I definitely wouldn't want anything too heavy from Chipp. He'd work best as like a co-entree, something like a chicken parm, but I don't really want to go the Italian route. I was thinking about the Eastern Chipp Kingdom and Answer, and I remembered one of his winning quotes versus Jam and Exard. Something about how the kingdom didn't have a national dish, and I kinda arrived at the obvious solution. Curry is a pretty universal dish, all things considered, and combining Japanese, African, and I suppose, in this universe, Zepp cuisine, would kinda tie the Guilty Gear universe together as a whole. Chipp would go great with spices from whatever region of Africa the Eastern Chipp Kingdom is, and some sort of coconut rice. I'm not the biggest curry fan as a whole though, so I'd have him intermittently, but not enough to warrant the repeat list.
Potemkin.
Speaking of Zepp, I am struggling to think of what to do for Potemkin. I know I said earlier we have to give a lot of leeway with each character's muscles, but we simply cannot do that with Potemkin. The man is a wall of muscle that keeps getting bigger, and we have to cook around that fact. You can try and ground him up, but if Soul's burger was dry, Potemkin's would turn your mouth into a desert. The only option I really see is slow cooking, and even then you would have to cook him for a long time for his meat to soften and fall off the bone. And even then it's stringy at best and clay-like at worst. Although, something you can explore is like a barbacoa, slow cooked underground in giant leaves. From there you can put them on tacos or quesadillas or just eat them like that. It would be a lot of work for an alright payoff, and to be honest, I would just rather pass on Potemkin.
Faust.
I'm going to say it right now, but I would not eat Faust's meat. He has so little and it's definitely stringy and dry. However, he does not go into the pass category. What we're going to harvest from Faust is his bone marrow. I do realize you usually want a higher fat concentration to get better bone marrow, but since Faust does not really abide by the laws of reality or literally anything, I think his bone marrow would taste delicious personally. Add some like crostinis and parsley and you're good to go. I don't think eating Faust would kill you or anything, despite how he's basically a zombie and also an otherworldly being. Just boil his bones well enough and you'll be fine. If I can preserve his bones for as long as I can, then Faust is going on the repeat list for sure.
Millia Rage.
I'm not going to beat around the bush with Millia. She'd definitely go in Eastern European cuisine. She would have a softer mouthfeel, mostly due to how she plays. I'm not the most well-versed on Millia, but I can imagine her in some sort of a European dumpling equivalent. Think pilmeni or pierogi. Something where Millia can be used as a filling rather than the main attraction. I'd pair her with some sort of fermented vegetable, like sauerkraut or pickled onions. Sorry, Millia fans, I don't really have much to say about her. She'd make pretty good pierogies that go on the repeat list, and there's not much to it. I'm noticing that some of these entries are shorter than others, and you're just gonna have to bear with me, because there are a lot of characters, and I'm not gonna have the same amount to say for all of them. So, yeah.
Zato 1.
Okay, you're gonna need to hear me out on this one. Well, I guess for this entire tier list, but genuinely. Zato 1 died for 6 years, so you might think of his meat as like nasty and rotten, but can you imagine a dry-aged salami made from someone who died and got resurrected? The flavor would be so immaculate I wouldn't know what to do with myself. In case you don't know, some meats are purposely left to mold so the outside can be cut off and the inside can get the delicious flavor from the curing. In the case of Zato, I am genuinely salivating imagining him on a charcuterie board with like Gouda, Marcona almonds, honeycomb, and whipped ricotta. It would be a lot of work to dry and cure and cultivate him, but I guarantee it would pay off. He could definitely be sold for top dollar at a delicatessen. By the way, just for future reference, we're not going to include side characters like Eddie in preparation of ranking of these characters. But anyways, Zato gets to be our first top tier, surprisingly.
Ramlethal Valentine.
Sorry to spoil things for Zato, but I'll say right now that Ram is also going to be a top tier. She's the one that inspired this tier list after all, and was formerly my top pick for most delicious Guilty Gear character. Her meat would simply be incredibly tender and juicy, even without cooking, and when cooked it would give a similar vibe to turkey thigh or leg. You know, like a perfectly roasted Thanksgiving turkey where the meat just falls off the bone. That's what Ramlethal would taste like. Some geniuses in the comments may want to make her into a burger, and to that I say, yeah, you can do that, but you can also use the Mona Lisa as a placemat. Jokes aside, I do think Ram would have a similar poultry taste to Kai, except unlike Kai, she would actually taste good. I would be happy eating her as is, just slices with a carving knife, maybe with some cranberry sauce, but I'd also be interested in using some of her in a turkey croque monsieur or a Monte Cristo sandwich. Bottom line though, Ramlethal would make a delicious meal. One that you'd want to come back to over and over again, and to some, she may even become a favorite food.
Leo Whitefang.
Fajitas. I'd make him into a fajita. Beef fajitas, especially, with tahini and grilled onions and grilled bell peppers, and I don't know, make him mixed fajitas, add some shrimp in there, and molten hot butter sauce. Sorry, there's not much to say. Leo is, I would say, very similar to Chipp in terms of flavor, but with that little extra zing that comes from bearing your survivor's guilt under hundreds of layers of assholery and pride. This is a really short one, but Leo is just kind of simple, there's not much expounding. He'd make pretty good fajitas, but honestly fajitas aren't something I would put anywhere near my favorite foods, so I'd only eat them if I'd directly given, you know.
Nagoriyuki.
I do not know how a night list would taste, but what I do know is Nagoriyuki would be best served incredibly rare. He looks tough on the outside, but I see the makings of a very juicy steak. I'm thinking genuinely something of a blue rare. There are a lot of angles you can take Nago though, two of which I kind of want to explore for other characters because I just feel they fit them more closely. Something I do find interesting is some sort of Thai-inspired sauce with a Nagoriyuki. He's lived for thousands of years and traveled the world, so I don't think multicultural cuisine would be out of the realm of possibility for his flavor profile. I just don't know if I would want to cook him enough for that to be an option. I think I'm mainly just going to go with something like a New York strip steak, a leaner cut that really allows him to be as juicy as he is. Top him with some kosher salt, crushed grilled garlic, truffle fries or sweet potato fries, and a side Caesar salad. Steak isn't my go-to meat, but I do acknowledge when it's done properly. And I would love to have Nago on the repeat list because of that.
Giovanna.
Now, I hate Giovanna. As a character, I think she's bland, uninspired, kinda hot, and just not a very well thought out character overall. But I'm not going to let that keep me from analyzing her actual taste. For one, she is incredibly juicy, akin to Ramlethal in a sense, but not quite there. She doesn't have a poultry taste at all, and I do sense a more artificial vibe from her, mostly because of the recycling dog. That isn't to say that processed food it can't be good cuisine, and honestly, looking at the big picture, Giovanna would make a great spam musabi. Now, if you've had spam, you know it's incredibly salty, spongy, artificial. It's not for everyone. But the Hawaiians didn't have pigs, so they compromised. I personally will enjoy a spam musabi from time to time, and I believe in this case I would enjoy it more knowing that it's human instead of eating spam. All the previous recipes have had the meat interchangeable with the characters, like the characters were filling a slot, but here I genuinely believe I would love Giovanna musabi. It would still have that porky, salty taste, but it wouldn't be as artificial as spam. If anything, I can see it being more tender and flavorful, akin to eel, which is definitely my favorite nigiri topping of all time. Add a dash of soy sauce, not too much, because if you do just barely too much, it just ruins the whole thing. And you're good to go. Despite my hate of her as a character, I have to put Giovanna on the repeat list for her improvement on the spam musabi. Is it musubi? I don't know. Whatever.
Anji Mito.
I said before that none of the characters are seafood coated, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't necessarily go well with seafood. For Anji, I'm thinking a simple Japanese surf and turf, with his meat replacing the land meat. I'd put him on top of some rice with ahi tuna and furikake. I want to pair him with like a sake or a ramune if you can't drink, and there's not much more to it. I want to bring out the Japanese flavor for Anji in particular. I don't know why. He is just kind of boring besides that, so I'd only eat him if given.
Ino.
I was genuinely struggling to think of anything for Ino, which you wouldn't think it would be that hard considering she's like, I don't know, freaky and all that. But then I remembered beef tartare exists. You want a naturally tender beef for beef tartare, and I think Ino would fit the bill better than any other character because of how lean she is. For a dish you don't have to put under any heat, Ino would be the best. Plus, you can make like a sex joke because beef tartare is raw and... Dude, I don't know, connect the dots for the joke there. I'm not gonna do it for you, I'm here to cook and eat people. But anyways, beef tartare is incredible, and I definitely eat human tartare repeatedly, especially if it's Ino.
Goldlewis Dickinson.
Now, as a Goldlewis main, I feel I have to do him the utmost justice while not being biased in any way, shape, or form. I do know a lot about him though, so I can determine his flavor with a greater accuracy than, say, Millia. But anyways, at first glance, you may think Goldlewis is, fat. Well, you are somewhat right, you are also completely off for thinking that. Goldlewis has the body of an Olympic lifter dialed up to 11. That is to say, he is completely muscle, dispersed with fat in between, but mainly muscle. The meat specialists in the audience might already know where this is going, but I'll explain a little more. High quality beef has an abundance of what you call intermuscular fat, literally fat between the muscles. Cows are bred to maximize this in certain regions of the body so they can be later harvested and enjoyed by gourmands. In Goldlewis's case, I have zero doubt that his intermuscular fat goes crazy with how many burgers he eats. His brother is the burger sharer after all. All this is to say, Goldlewis is a delicious A5 Wagyu. If you never had it, then you need to correct that like now. It's pretty much unanimously regarded as the best cut of meat, and for good reason. It's naturally buttery, tender, lean, and melty without even cooking it. All you really need is light sear and no seasoning, and it'll still be the best steak you've ever tasted. That is how good it is. And for a man built like Goldlewis, that A5 human Wagyu would go astronomical. I would be seeing stars. My eyes would be rolling in the back of my head with how good it is. He is a top tier for damn sure, and I will not be hearing any arguments against it.
Jacko.
Jacko's diet consists mainly of candy. And that's not a preference or anything, she genuinely needs it to function. I don't know if you know this, but someone who only eats processed sugar all day will not taste good. Even if Jacko looks physically healthy and strong and is a Valentine and not technically a human, she is still going to abide mainly by universal culinary truths. There's a reason that a specific diet for meat is necessary for high quality chicken or beef or what have you. That being said, we still have to try and cook her. Lamb is considered a sweeter meat, so I want to go with some sort of lamb chop equivalent. If we want to incorporate some sort of candy to match the flavor, lamb chops are often served with mint jelly, I personally am not the biggest fan of the combination, but it is a viable and time-tested pair, so we'll go with that. But honestly, I feel like her meat would just be sullen. I'm going to have to pass on Jacko as a whole.
Chaos.
Happy Chaos is blue. He's also like God, like the god in the sky, I think. I don't know what he would taste like, and to be honest, I don't know if he's safe to eat. The only thing I can think of to guarantee safety when eating him is to like smoke him or dry him into jerky. I feel like it would be an otherworldly level of chewy and have a naturally smoky flavor due to like gunfire, I guess. I'm going to pass on Happy Chaos, but he's not going into the inedible category just yet because I simply don't know enough about his physiology or biology to make that call. How do you eat God? I don't know.
Baiken.
Baiken is relatively basic compared to our last few subjects. She's Japanese and there really isn't much more to it. Just looking at her, you know her meat would be very tender. As funny as it would be to make Baiken into bacon, I'm not really interested in that angle, even though it's definitely possible. What I am interested in is her more fatty parts. Bacon is muscular, yes, but the way Guilty Gear characters are designed, she absolutely has enough fat to make some damn good pork belly. Unlike Mei, I would actually put bacon in ramen. Baiken, shit. But honestly, I would rather just eat her on skewers. There isn't much more to Baiken, but I love pork belly, so she'd go on the repeat list easily.
Testament.
Testament is interesting. I imagine them as very bony and cartilagey, kind of like Faust, but not as extreme. What I'm picturing is a taste similar to quail, which, if you've ever had quail, you know is a massive compliment. Quail is delicious, but hard to eat because of how small it is. It's usually eaten whole, and you're kind of picking around bones the entire time. Not to say I would pass on a quail, though. The taste is very much worth the effort to eat them. This translates to Testament. The taste would be immaculate, yes, but just a little hard to eat, which I am fine with. I'd pair Testament with some fried plantains because those shits are incredibly good too, and they're often eaten with quail, putting Testament very solidly on the repeat list.
Bridget.
God, I hate Bridget so much. Her fans are so insufferable, but I also won't let that get in the way of eating her. I think she's a very similar story to Jacko, but in a more natural way, where Jacko's sweetness is based on diet, Bridget's is just how she is, I guess. I picture a similar flavor to Rabbit more than anything else, and from there you can basically go wherever you want. I would want something rich, like Rabbit confit in duck fat. If I have to eat Bridget, I would want to enjoy her. I don't think she tastes bad or anything, but as a character, she just doesn't interest me at all. However, we aren't talking about the character here, we're talking solely about the meat, and I hate to say, but Bridget would be incredibly tasty. Duck fat makes the world go round after all, and I have to put Bridget on the repeat list despite my lack of interest in her character.
Sin.
Now Sin is interesting. He is the only character to actually eat anything in-game, so I see myself having a conversation over how to eat every character with him, including himself. Sin has a plucky charm about him that would translate to his flavor incredibly well. There's so many angles you can go with him too. Maybe on a skewer like the food he eats in-game? However, though, I would want Sin gyros. I feel like a gyro just encapsulates everything that Sin is. Fresh, packed with flavor and variety, and always versatile. Stuff some pickled red onions, tzatziki, feta cheese, and oh my goodness, I would love to eat Sin. This might come as a shock or surprise with how I ranked Kai, but Sin is going right next to the rest of the heavy hitters, because frankly he's just delicious all around. I guess the apple falls far from the tree, or the eye from the eye socket. Yeah.
Bedman.
I haven't used this category yet, but Bedman is inedible. We are going off his Strive appearance, and well, he's a bed. Now you're probably thinking two things. Yes, there's something similar to meat inside the bed, but I have no idea what that is, and it's probably not safe to eat at all. And no, we are not eating Delilah. Not once in this tier list have I even considered side characters like May's Dolphin, Eddie, or Jacko's minions, or any of Faust's items. So Delilah is not going to count towards the taste of Bedman. She doesn't do anything in-game and has no effect on Bedman at all. So for this tier list, she doesn't even exist. Sorry all you Bedman fans, but I simply cannot eat him. He's a bed. He's made of metal and flesh adjacent material. And he's going to be the first character to go into the inedible category.
Asuka.
I'm not too well versed on Asuka or that man in general, but he's kind of a similar situation to Bridget, I want to say, where their fans occupy a specific niche that is kind of impossible to interact with in a healthy way. All this is to say I don't know shit about Asuka, and I'm just gonna make him into Dino Nuggets. Put him on the maybe list. I don't fucking know. This video is going on for too long. It's at like 26 minutes now. Asuka sucks. He reminds me of the guy who calculates the flavor of potato chips. Fuck it, make him the potato chips. I don't fucking care. He's magic. He can do whatever he wants. If your favorite character in this game is Asuka, what are you doing? Like, out of everyone, it's like people who like Claire in Resident Evil 2, or just Resident Evil as a whole. There's so many other like good characters you can choose, and you choose Claire. This is off topic. I don't know. I'm gonna end. I need some sleep. I'm gonna take this time as a tangent to go, it's hard to record these videos. Like, recording lines takes a lot of time. This is like, I've been going for like 3 hours at this point. It's bad. So yeah, if you're looking to get into video production, just know what you're getting into. Oh yeah, Asuka goes in the maybe category. Fuck you. I'm just kidding. Please don't click off the video.
Johnny.
This will be a controversial ruling, but I would honestly pass on Johnny. He's got a similar salty flavor to May, combined with a toughness from his build and lifestyle, and again, a sullen flavor from his alcohol consumption. Something about Johnny just puts me off to eating him, but since I have to for this tier list, I'd recommend a slow cook similar to Potemkin, but not anything near the culinary intensity of barbacoa. I'd go with a simpler buff bourguignon with a wine reduction, even though Johnny doesn't drink wine. It's hard to make a bad buff bourguignon, but if you do everything correctly, the only problems come down to Johnny's innate flavor, which I would pass on in the first place. The dish is fine, but he is the problem here, and I would rather pass. Sometimes there's not really anything you can do to make a character taste any better. You just have to work with what you have. And what we have with isn't much. Sorry, Johnny fans.
Elphelt Valentine.
There are so many jokes I can make here, but I think I'm going to keep it professional with Elphelt and just use some very broad culinary terms such as juicy, tender, buttery. Jokes aside, Elphelt will make a very good cut of meat similar to Ramlethal, but with a completely different flavor profile. Through no bias of my own, I'm going to say she'd have a pork taste, contrary to Ramlethal's poultry and Jacko's lamb. Honestly, I have option paralysis here because Elphelt is so versatile you can basically do whatever you want with her. Due to her build, I want to recommend something to do with pulled pork maybe? Pulled pork is easy to do wrong, but done right you will be coming back for more consistently. I feel Elphelt would fit the bill perfectly as high quality pork that would last for a long time. I don't have any specific recipe prepared for her, but honestly that's a good thing because you can make a variety of dishes with her that you won't get tired of. I'm going to have to put Elphelt on the repeat list alone for sheer versatility.
A.B.A.
I believe this is our second character that would go into the inedible category. A.B.A is a homunculus with mercury for blood, so I'm sorry to say that you would probably die if you ate her. Paracelsus is also inedible, we aren't eating him either. Sorry A.B.A fans, you're the shortest section here, my bad. I'm trying to make all these sections equal in length, but some of them it's just impossible to do that, so bear with me, okay?
Queen Dizzy.
If there is any character that is poultry coated, it would be Dizzy. She literally has wings and a tail, which I'm not sure what animal that tail is from. I think it actually turns into a narwhal for some attacks. Anyways, I brought this up earlier with Axl, but I think it fits better for Dizzy. Chicken and waffles. Dizzy has a light and innocent taste. She's very snackish, I want to say. But we're doing meals here, so I'm just going to say chicken and waffles fits her the best out of anything. I'm thinking those Belgian sugar waffles, you know, with like the sugar crystals inside of them. You know, the ones you've had. Those are really fucking good. Unfortunately, I am going to bring back the Axl point here. You can't eat chicken and waffles every day, or at least you don't want to. Dizzy is going into the same category as I wouldn't seek her out, but I'd gladly indulge if given. She's a rainy day meal, you know?
Venom.
Here we have the last Strive character. Yep, there are no more characters in Strive after Venom. He's the last DLC, and they didn't make any more. Conveniently, he's also my second favorite character next to Goldlewis, so I'll have a lot to say about him. Venom strikes me as going well with a fruit. Not because he's, you know, fruity and all, but mainly because of his recent history as a reformed assassin and newfound baker. I want to incorporate his bakery skills into his dish that I feel he would be proud of. I'm going to call it right now with a meat pie for Venom. As for the fruit incorporation, I'm thinking you could probably use him in a sauce of some sort. I'm thinking, you've got so many options here. Raspberry, butternut squash, a fig even. Figs I feel could go even like inside the meat pie as a whole. But it would kind of give a Christmassy vibe, which isn't a bad thing if that's what you're looking for. Venom would be absolutely delicious though. With the amount of time he spends in the kitchen, I know he knows that he would taste great, which lands him squarely next to the rest of the heavy hitters in the top category. By the way, Robokai is inedible. Sorry. And that's everyone. Here's the final rankings. Thank you for watching this far, and yeah, I can't believe this video is finally out. I've had this idea for a while, but never the willpower to go through with it, but I thank you for sticking through and enjoying the fruits of my labor. I want to make more content like this, not strictly about cannibalism, but like, you know, long-form content about literally anything I want. If you have suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you disagree with any of my recipes, feel free to leave your own in the comments too. I live to please. This video is hard to make. I'm watching the recording bar go up right now. I'm going off script now. Thank you for watching this video. It was not easy to make. So, thank you. And I'll see you in the next video.